Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for the 34th video in the Sylvia Plath read-along. We are going poem by poem through Sylvia Plath, the collected poems, but this video will also appear in the Poetry Discussions playlist here on the channel. This poem... While I refuse to say that it is my favorite Sylvia Plath yet, I will say that it is one of the more compelling Sylvia Plath poems that I have read, for the fact that you can look at it so many ways and break it down. You can break it down in terms of people versus people, in terms of the fact that there are some people who are just different than other people. You can break it down in terms of religion. If God is great and God is just, why does evil exist? You can break it down in terms of sort of, I would say, what is commonly referred to as a nihilistic view, in that nothing matters. Does any of it matter? Look at this atrocity, and we just go about. You can break it down in so many ways if you are just willing to put in the time to fully flesh out the argument that you were trying to make. And we'll get there at the middle-ish of this analysis here. But the poem in question is Spider, and it reads as such. Anansi, black busybody of the folk tales you scuttle out on impulse, blunt in self-interest. As a sledgehammer, as a man's bunched fist, yet of devils the cleverest, to get your carousels told. You spun the cosmic web, you squint from center field. Last summer I came upon your Spanish cousin, notable robber baron, behind a goatherd's hut, near his small Stonehenge above the ant's rout. 1/3 ant size, one-leggy spot. He tripped an ant with a rope scarcely visible. About and about the slope of his redoubt he ran his nimble filament, each time round winding that ant tighter to the cocoon, already veiling the gray spool of stone from which coils caught ants waved legs in torpid warning, or lay still and suffered their livelier fellows to struggle, then briskly scaled his altar tiered with tethered ants, nodding in somnolence, appalling to witness, to the barbarous outlook from there chose his next martyr to the gross cause of of concupiscence, once more with black alacrity bound round his prisoner, the ants, a file of comers, a file of goers, preserved on a set course, no scruple could disrupt, obeying orders of instinct till swept off stage and infamously wrapped up by a spry black deus ex machina. Nor did they seem deterred by this. So Anansi, where we start here, the spider. Anansi. Probably I am pronouncing that wrong. That is from West African mythology, sort of a Loki type character, but not quite as malevolent, I would say, from my understanding. Not that I have great understanding of this. A wise character from that mythology, a talented speaker from that mythology. We get all of this cleverest carousals told. We get all of this given to us in this poem here. So one thing I want to ask, just sort of at the outset here, because I think that it matters in how we interpret this poem. I think that it matters in how we interpret life, perhaps. Anansi is from mythology. Do we consider this character a god? Mythological, but does that mean godly? I think that it does mean something close to that. So you look at different mythologies from around the world. There are characters, there are supporting characters, there are all sorts of roles to be played in a mythological setting. Does the mere existence of a character in that plane make it a god? All of the characters in Greek mythology, all of the characters in Nordic mythology, they are mentioned among gods for sure. Odin, a god, was the great big wolf of Nordic mythology. Is that a god? You think of the monsters in Greek mythology. Are those gods? What is his name? Fenrir. Yeah, Fenrir. Is Fenrir a god? The giant wolf in Norse mythology. How close to a god does it become because it is mentioned in mythology? Oftentimes, these mythologies have spaces in them for the first man and the first woman. Are those characters then gods? The Judeo Christian tradition, are Adam and Eve something other than mortals? There was the I can't think of anything today. I'm sorry. Um, Cain. Cain was cursed to walk the earth. There is, I believe, in certain sects, some question about his mortality. Does that put him on a plane different than you and I? I don't know. I think I think so. And we're going to come back to this idea. We're going to come back to this question because it's going to come up a little bit later. So that's how we're thinking of Anansi, right? What about the ants involved? These ants here. Above the ants route. You know, ants, worker ants, they wake up and they go to work, right? They don't think about things in between. They just follow the guy in front of them. Kind of like you on your drive to work, right? Are the ants here representative of regular people? Just the yous and me's, the Jimmies and Joes? Because it's kind of weird, isn't it? We have this character here, whatever you believe this to represent, whoever you believe that to represent, and there's all these regular folk going back and forth from work. And this character here grabs one of them, starts winding that ant tighter to the cocoon. Boom, 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 all of this struggle. And no one else notices. The ants, a file of comers, a file of goers, preserve on a set course. No scruple could disrupt. Obeying orders of instinct till swept off stage and infamously wrapped up. Right? All of these ants They must see what's going on, but they're just heading back and forth to work. So the reason I want to know how you feel about this character here. Is this a god? Is the fact that Anansi is in mythology reason enough to label Anansi a god? Because we have a very interesting phrase later in the poem. Deus ex machina. If you are a writer, you know this phrase probably. So what is something that's not too bad there? Deus ex machina. The God in the machine. The God of the machine. The machine is the natural world, the natural order. If you believe Anansi to be elevated to the position of a god, that means that what we're doing here is we are examining how fortune befalls us. How literally do you take that phrase, Deus ex machina? There are many ways, I think, to take it. You can look at this poem, you can look at Anansi happening out among the ants, picking one off, wrapping it up, and say, yeah, man, that's kind of how God points down and chooses which one of us to put into a car wreck. Sends that guy across the median, head on to meet us, and end our day, end our time in this mortal plane. You could see this poem that way. But when we look at spiders, when we look at ants, kind of do we discriminate that much? Bugs are bugs, aren't they? So, if that is the case and these two things are not that terribly removed from one another, they are both bugs, is Anansi just one of us who happens out into the stream of regular, God-fearing people and starts plucking them off? Maybe not, uh, like a serial killer, maybe not that intensely, but someone who happens into the regular stream of society and ruins people, one individual at a time. Certainly that's real. Is it, instead, this poem with Anansi happening out into the line of ants and plucking one out, just a sign that the natural world, the natural order, things as they are hectic. Things as they are not to be trusted. Things as they are kind of nihilistic. I don't like that reading of the term nihilism, but I think you see where I'm coming from. It does not matter whether Anansi is picking off this ant or that ant, because the rest of the ants will get basically the same amount of work done. Anansi is going to have that meal anyway. It is an uncaring universe that decides which ant it is that gets the filament that day. There are so many interesting readings of this poem. I think I like the one about Anansi representing just another one of us, happening out into society to ruin one person at a time, to take one ant out of rotation. Boom, gone. But the cogs still turn. One by one, they turn a little more loosely. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here on this channel, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more literature in the future. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.